Bruce Lee was a legend in his own lifetime. Hailed as the greatest master of Kung Fu in the world, he was also the first non-white to achieve international stardom in motion pictures. Here are some rare shots of Bruce Lee behind the scenes during the filming of a Kung Fu movie in Hong Kong. See for yourself why he was called the King of Kung Fu. Because of these great feats of physical prowess and unusual skill, combined with his subtle philosophy and penetrating character, he was admired and respected by the world's greats. Famous movie star Steve McQueen was most impressed with Bruce's philosophy when he said, "Know yourself through the martial arts," was an extension of Bruce. But he also knew himself in everyday life. Well-known movie producer Sterling Silliphant has said, "Bruce was more than just a single success story. He represented a whole race finally being accepted in films." Actor James Coburn said, "Bruce didn't teach. He allowed you to. He would place you in a circumstance where you could evolve yourself." But perhaps the greatest compliment to Bruce came from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who towered over Lee as he did almost everyone else. Abdul said, "Bruce was a true brother in the war against oppression. Having been there himself, he knew. But he emerged with his success with sympathy and understanding for every man, though he continued his fight for those brothers still in the shadows."
Yeah, I met Bruce when I was going to school at UCLA. We became friends. See, I was a junior, and Bruce was in between jobs. The Green Hornet thing was through, so, we met by a mutual friend, a guy that writes for Black Belt magazine. Any martial artist realizes that violence is counterproductive to what you really want to be doing, although it is necessary at times. In the advice that Krishna gives, he says that when it's time to fight, you have to fight.
I understand you took off unbeknownst to anyone and went to be in a movie with Bruce directing.
I thought it was great. We'd always said we would do something like that, if it was at all possible. I was leaving Malaysia. I was going to stop in Hong Kong and see him. So I took the plane from Kuala Lumpur down to Singapore to catch my connection on either to Hong Kong or Manila. I was going to go home by Hong Kong and see Bruce, you see. And when I got down to Singapore, they had, all the papers had big, fat headlines about Bruce was dead. It was... All I know is what I read. I spoke to his wife, and she didn't have too much to say about that. I didn't want to question her about that because everybody else has hassled her about that. And I don't want to get involved in that, especially seeing how the man is dead. You can't bring him back. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah.
Born in San Francisco in 1940, he appeared steadily in both Chinese and American films throughout his childhood and adolescence. But his one burning ambition in life, the accomplishment of which he began as a child, was to master the martial arts of the Orient. And to this end, he applied his agile and inquisitive mind and superbly conditioned body to a tortuous and relentless discipline, the results of which saw him first master the arts of karate, taekwondo, tai chi chuan, kendo, aikido, atem, and then surpassing all these with his own creation of Jeet Kune Do, the way of the stopping fist, a fusion of his own meditations and the philosophy and teachings of the Shaolin monks on one end to the boxing techniques and styles of Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali on the other. When it came to using the best in the fighter's pantheon of greatness, Bruce Lee was the champion of champions. From the deadly art of nunchaku to his poetic explanation, "If you do not hear the birds, you cannot hear your opponent," to his love and devotion for his wife and children, Bruce Lee was a complex and sensitive man. A man who said, "Those who are unaware they are walking in darkness will never seek the light." And then, tragically, and some say mysteriously, Bruce Lee died. a worldwide search was begun by the producers to find a replacement for the master of Jeet Kune Do to complete the scenes Bruce had already filmed. Finally, in the very backyards of Hong Kong, a young and exceptional athlete was discovered who could portray Bruce Lee. The winner of 4 international kung fu competitions, Lee Xiaolong, also bore a strong physical resemblance to Lee.
Wonderful, dear. The best time you've ever done.
A series of high-level meetings were held at the studio, and finally, a meeting was arranged.
You're in excellent condition and a master of kung fu. You also bear such an amazing resemblance to Bruce that you are the ideal stand-in for him. You'd be just perfect. In Bruce Lee's last picture. We knew it the first time we saw you. Ask our producer, Mr. Cho.
I think you were born to be Bruce Lee II. It's a heavy responsibility.
An immediate campaign was then begun to transform Lee Xiaolong into Bruce Lee. Vigorous training was undertaken immediately.
He sure knows how to fight for his defense. In starting all his limbs the tense. Power glistens in his eyes, he strikes terror with his cries. He's the king of kung fu. King of kung fu. Let him show what he can do. He's the king of kung fu. King of kung fu. King of kung fu. Let him show what he can do. He uses every human capability with a fingertip sensitivity. His kung fu courage set in motion. It's a massive dynamic explosion. Power fills his eyes as he strikes terror with his cries. He's the king of kung fu. King of kung fu. King of kung fu. Let him show what he can do. He's the king of kung fu. King of kung fu. King of kung fu. Let him show what he can do.
For it would be necessary for him to be a gifted actor as well, able to portray the tough yet likable character he brought to the international screen. Finally, tests were made.
Powerhouse that fights to live. His iron muscles threaten destruction. There's no fighter that could touch him. The king is now revealed. He's a real kind of steel. He's the king of kung fu.
Don't worry.
King of kung fu. King of kung fu. I'm sure what he can do.
Many of the same actors who had worked with Bruce Lee were thoroughly amazed at Lee's resemblance and great skill.
Okay, fellas, that was terrific.
The producers were satisfied, for on the screen, Lee Xiaolong actually became Bruce Lee. And now, through the miracle of motion pictures, Bruce Lee's last film will be brought to you as he intended it. The master of every school of Kung Fu and the creator of its most deadly and sublime evolution, Jeet Kune Do, the immortal Bruce Lee. Goodbye, Bruce Lee. In memory of the Dragon.